When was the last time you just sat there and did nothing? Like, really nothing. No music, no scrolling, no video playing in the background. Can't remember? That's the problem. What if I told you that right now, your brain is slowly losing an ability that separates geniuses from ordinary people? The same ability that allowed Einstein to come up with the theory of relativity and J.K. Rowling to create Harry Potter. And no, IQ or talent have nothing to do with it. Intrigued? Then let's break down why boredom is exactly what your brain is critically lacking. We live in a world where boredom is treated like an enemy. Open any productivity article and you'll hear the same advice. Fill every minute. Listen to podcasts on your way to work. Watch educational videos while you eat. Scroll your feed while standing in line. We've turned our lives into an endless stream of content where every second has to be filled with something. And the worst part, we're proud of it. We wear busyness like a medal. I don't have time to be bored sounds like a compliment, like a sign of success. But there's a problem. While you're filling every second of your life with other people's thoughts, other people's ideas, other people's content, your own brain starts to atrophy. In 2014, the University of Virginia ran an experiment that shocked the scientific community. People were placed in an empty room for 15 minutes. No phone, no entertainment, just a chair. But there was one thing in the room, a button that delivered an electric shock. The shock was mild, unpleasant, but not dangerous. And what do you think happened? 67% of men and 25% of women chose to shock themselves rather than just sit alone with their thoughts. People chose physical pain over boredom. That feels like a diagnosis of our generation. When you constantly consume content, your brain operates in reaction mode. You see a post, you react. You get a notification, you check it. This activates the task-positive network, the system responsible for focus and external attention. But there's another system, the default mode network. It only turns on when you're doing nothing. In other words, when you're bored. And this is where the real magic begins. When the default mode network activates, the brain pulls information from different memory systems and builds new connections. It asks questions, it simulates the future, it generates ideas. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel discovered that this network consumes about 20% of the brain's total energy, even when you're doing nothing, more than almost any other function. Your brain at rest is working harder than when you're solving a problem. So what's the issue, you might ask? The issue is this. If you grab your phone every free second, this system weakens. You literally lose your ability to think deeply. Even more than that, this network shapes your identity. When your mind wanders, it asks, who am I? What do I want? What matters to me? Without moments of boredom, you lose contact with yourself. Remember when I mentioned Einstein and Rowling? Einstein worked as a clerk in a patent office, a boring job. During slow moments, he would simply sit and stare out the window. Later, he called these moments thought experiments. Those thought experiments led him to imagine himself riding on a beam of light. That's where the theory of relativity began. Of course, he later spent years on mathematics, physics, and formalization before fully developing the theory. But the seed sprouted there, in the patent office, in a moment of boredom. J.K. Rowling used boredom productively too. She came up with the Harry Potter universe on a train that was delayed for 4 hours. She had no paper, no tools, just herself, the window, and boredom. I was just sitting and thinking, and the main idea came to me, she later said in an interview. We should probably thank her for eventually writing it all down. Here's another experiment. Researchers at the University of Central Lancashire divided people into 2 groups. One group immediately worked on a creative task. The second group spent 15 minutes doing something boring. The result? The bored group generated 41% more original ideas. Now, think about your own best ideas. When did they show up? In the shower, before sleep, while walking, in moments when your brain could breathe. And how do we usually spend that time now? We get in the shower and turn on a podcast. We sit in traffic and scroll Instagram. We watch videos before bed. We've closed off every doorway our brain has to creativity. Going back to the electric shock experiment, why is it so hard for people to just sit and do nothing? The answer is simple: dopamine. And by the way, it's not the pleasure hormone, as people like to call it. It's the hormone of anticipation. It's released when you expect a reward, when there's uncertainty. You don't check your phone because there's definitely something there. You check it because there might be something. Maybe someone texted. Maybe there's a new video. That uncertainty gives you a microdose of dopamine. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes. Most of those checks are automatic, unconscious. We don't even notice them. But every single time, the brain gets its microdose. MRI studies show that boredom activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. But when you allow yourself to be bored, the dopamine system resets. The brain starts looking for deeper sources of interest. Simple things like conversation, walking, your own thoughts start to feel interesting again. I know what you're thinking. Sounds great in theory, but in real life, I don't have time to just sit and be bored. And you don't need hours, you need minutes. 10 to 15 minutes of unfilled time a day is enough to activate the brain's passive mode. Morning coffee without your phone, the drive home without a podcast, 5 minutes of just sitting before bed. The first few times will feel wildly uncomfortable because your brain has forgotten how to be in that state. It will scream, it will demand stimulation, it will convince you that you're wasting time. That's withdrawal, and that's normal. What, you want to know what withdrawal is? It's a cancellation syndrome. Yes, your brain behaves exactly like the brain of an addicted person. But here's what's interesting. The power of boredom was known long before neuroscience existed. In meditation traditions, philosophical practices, religious rituals, there was always value placed on contemplation, not thinking, observing, sitting, being. Modern neuroscience is only now starting to understand why this works. When you allow yourself to be bored, you give your brain time to process information, to consolidate memory, to integrate experience. It's like defragmenting a hard drive. If you keep writing new data without letting the system organize itself, everything starts to slow down. Your brain works the same way. A constant stream of information with no time for processing creates cognitive overload. You remember less, you understand more superficially, you feel less deeply. That's exactly why you need boredom. Only in boredom do you return to yourself, to your thoughts, your ideas, your life. Let's be honest. You can watch this video, nod your head, and keep living the same way. Nothing terrible will happen tomorrow or the day after. You won't die from a lack of boredom. But here's what will happen. Slowly and almost invisibly, you'll consume thousands of hours of content. You'll be filled with information to the brim. And then, a year from now, if someone asks you, "What did you create?" you won't know what to answer, because consumption leaves no time for creation. A study from Cornell University followed 2 groups of people over 5 years. The first group lived a highly stimulating lifestyle, lots of content, lots of events, an active social media life. The second group deliberately left empty time in their schedules. 5 years later, the first group reported higher anxiety, lower life satisfaction, and a sense of lost years. The second group showed clearer life goals, more completed projects, and deeper relationships. The difference wasn't in the number of events, it was in the space between them. Space for reflection, integration, and growth. This isn't exaggeration. This is the reality of millions of people who, at the end of their lives, say, "I lived someone else's life. I followed someone else's desires. I never stopped to figure out what I wanted." But there's good news. You can easily avoid this by adding just a little boredom to your life. And in that silence, maybe you'll hear something important. Maybe an idea, maybe a question, or maybe just a feeling you've been ignoring for months. And if you're interested in psychology, subscribe to the channel. In the very next video, you might learn something interesting about yourself.